All right, so we know how great Leonardo was. If you don't know just how great of a mind Leonardo da Vinci had, just take 30 minutes to look up his work, look up his ideas, look up his illustrations. You will see some of the most amazing things that you've ever seen just because of the time frame. Just the ideas will be some of the most amazing things that you've ever seen when you consider the time frame. And then of course his art is what, top 5 of all the artists in history. I mean, you just can't argue his greatness. So when you see something like this in his pictures, it's not an accident. It's there on purpose. But we're not really going to talk about all of that. I just want to kind of go off of just what he drew. And this is being called a picture of God. So if you know any of Enoch, then you know, and I'm pretty sure there's other people in history or history books even that talk about this as well. But when Enoch talks about being taken to see God by angels, and this is before the fall, this is before the Great War, he talked about being taken to see God. And one of the places he describes in wherever he was at, I don't know if it was a spaceship, I don't know if he was taken to a planet, to a palace, to a castle, not really for sure about that, but he describes one of the rooms being filled with just thousands upon thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of angels. But they weren't like, just all floating around playing harps and doing all of this spiritual stuff. It was described more like it was a military camp. Like he was describing battalions of infantry is basically that was the impression I got off of his description, that he was in some sort of military camp. And he was just witnessing quote unquote angels there being commanded by their leader, which was God. So when I look at this and I compare it to Enoch's description as far as what he's seen, is it possible that this really could be the face of God? However, with all of his battle garb on, because maybe God is a general. Maybe he is like an emperor and he is the supreme being, right? Like, because if you think about, Chinese tradition and how they feel about their emperor, what is the difference between that and how they think that, there's this godly or God appeal to him versus how angels and people and us would describe their general or their emperor. And when you look at this picture and the fact that this great mind Leonardo was at the forefront of this picture, it kind of all comes into a full circle. I mean, again, it's a far reach, don't get me wrong, but how far is it really when we're talking about it is what we're talking about? We know that they're out there. We know that they have armies. We know that they have infrastructure when it comes to military type things, because why wouldn't they? We do, and we're primitive. So could this actually literally be God right here? We're looking at him. We want to put some sort of angelic glow or a halo or wings or something mythical or something fantastical, and it's just all fantasy. But wonder if Leonardo literally has found a way to let us know what God looks like. And he looks like a badass, if you ask me. Like, if there's going to be a God out there who's supreme, reigning and running through all existence at the top of everything, and we know he has to be a warrior because we know he's raising soldiers and sending soldiers and things like that, I think I would want him to look like that, and I would imagine that he would look like that, just battle ready. I mean, it can't be ruled out when you just look at everything that's put together, and there's no way that an accident is going to happen in a Leonardo da Vinci painting. You're not going to get accidents out of whatever images you get. Whatever images you get, those images were placed there, however, whatever means that you need to find these pictures in these pictures, right? Like he's hiding pictures within pictures. So whatever means necessary that you have to do to bring out the inner picture, then it just has to be done, no matter how complicated, because we are talking about one of the most complicated minds to ever walk this earth, period. He's one of the most complicated and one of the most technical minds to ever walk this planet. So anything that you have to do is going to be extremely difficult, but it doesn't mean that it's out of the ordinary for his mind in any way, shape, or form. Not to mention, he has to hide it, because back then, if he's to draw something like this and to label it as it is, well, they would hang him, like, or draw and quartering. It's that simple. So let me know what you think about this. I really believe that this could be the only picture that we have ever seen in the history of humanity that actually shows what the being we call God somewhat looks like. Now, to me, again, this is his armor. I don't know his face. If this is his face, then that just makes it even more brutal. But honestly, I think he's in his armor. As crazy as that sounds. It's an amazing picture, and it's definitely something to think about. Thousands upon thousands, battalions of angels. They have to have a leader. There has to be a general to lead these warriors. As usual.